This penny almost slipped through history unnoticed. A coin so ordinary, so simple, that millions of people held it in their hands, spent it without thinking, dropped it into vending machines or let it rattle around in coffee cans. And yet, one single 1995 no-mint mark Lincoln penny shocked the world when it sold for over $1 million. Imagine this. A coin you could have dismissed as worthless pocket change, a penny worth $1.40 million. The truth behind this coin begins with a mistake. Not the kind you or I make, but a mistake deep inside the US Mint itself, an error so rare, so hidden, that most people never even noticed. But those who did, those who looked closer, they discovered a life-changing treasure hiding in plain sight. Collectors still whisper about it. Dealers call it one of the most astonishing finds of the 1990s. And for one lucky individual, it turned a forgotten penny into a millionaire's prize. The answer lies in the tiniest of details, details so subtle they're invisible to most eyes. Some coins from 1995 were struck with minting irregularities. On a few, the doubling on the obverse lettering created an eerie shadow effect, words that looked like they were almost trembling off the coin's surface. This was the infamous double die phenomenon. But beyond the doubling, there's the missing mint mark mystery. Many collectors overlooked it, until one day, one coin changed everything. But here's the shocking part. When the coin first surfaced, it was almost dismissed as just another odd penny. Dealers didn't believe it. Some collectors even scoffed at the idea that such a modern coin could be worth anything. But then, the bidding began, and what happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, competition was fierce. Phone lines buzzed, paddles flew into the air, collectors refused to back down. This wasn't just about owning a coin. It was about owning a piece of history, a mistake from the mint that had no business existing, and yet somehow survived. By the time the gavel came down, jaws had dropped. The final hammer price? More than $1 million. A single penny, worth more than most houses. Think about it. A coin you might find in your pocket change today, tossed into a drawer, forgotten under couch cushions, worth over $1 million. Collectors across the country were stunned. Dealers scrambled to recheck their inventories. Suddenly, the 1995 no-mint mark penny became one of the most sought-after coins in modern history. But the story doesn't end there, because the truth is, most people are still overlooking this coin. They see the year 1995, they see Lincoln's face, and they move on. They never take the time to inspect the lettering, to search for that telltale doubling, to notice the absence of the mint mark. And in doing so, they may be tossing away a fortune. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. One collector shared a story of finding his 1995 penny in a jar of change his father left behind. At first, he didn't think much of it. Just another old cent, right? But when he looked closer, when he studied the date and the inscriptions, his heart nearly stopped. He had one of the rarest coins of the decade sitting in his palm. That coin changed his life forever, and here's where it gets truly incredible: the coin was never supposed to be special. By 1995, the Lincoln Memorial Cent had been in circulation for decades. Billions were minted. The dies were routine, the presses were steady. Nothing suggested that a penny from this year could be worth anything more than its face value. But that's the magic of coin collecting. Sometimes, in the middle of ordinary, something extraordinary slips through. But wait. There's something even more unbelievable. Experts say that many of these rare 1995 no-mint mark pennies are still out there. Sitting in bankrolls. Hiding in dresser drawers. Lurking in old coin jars. Some may even be jingling in purses or wallets right now. Which means, yes, it could be you who finds the next $1 million penny, and that's why collectors are on edge. That's why treasure hunters search tirelessly through pocket change. Because stories like this remind us, one coin can change everything. The first sign is the absence of a mint mark under the date. A normal penny from Philadelphia has no mint mark, but this one stands apart because of its pairing with the doubled die. Look closely at Liberty and the phrase, "In God We Trust." If the letters appear shadowed, thickened, or doubled, you may be staring at $1 million miracle, but be careful. Many counterfeits have appeared over the years. Unscrupulous individuals try to carve, alter, or even press fake versions of this penny. That's why serious collectors always recommend authentication from a trusted grading service. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Auction houses light up with excitement when one surfaces. Collectors whisper in hushed tones about who might discover the next one. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. His story proves that it doesn't matter if you're a seasoned collector or just someone emptying a piggy bank. If you know what to look for, you could stumble upon a life-changing treasure, but here's where I'll leave you with one final thought: every coin in your pocket carries a story. Some stories are common, forgotten, ordinary. But others, like the 1995 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny, can rewrite a life, transform a family's future, and turn a humble cent into a fortune. This coin almost ended up being spent on a cup of coffee, but instead, it shocked the entire coin collecting world by selling for nearly $1.5 million. And here's the shocking part: it looks just like the pennies you and I use every single day. The year was 2016. Millions of Lincoln Memorial pennies poured out of the Philadelphia Mint, all struck without a mint mark. To the casual eye, they were ordinary, forgettable. Just another year of copper-plated zinc coins. But hidden among them was a mistake so rare, so breathtaking, that it turned a single cent into a life-changing fortune. Collectors call it one of the most dramatic modern penny discoveries in recent history. Dealers call it a fluke that shouldn't even exist. And the man who first uncovered one? He called it a miracle, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. You see, most 2016 pennies look the same, bright red when new, fading to brown as time and circulation take their toll. But there are a few, just a few, that bear hidden minting errors so extreme, they catapult their value into the stratosphere. Double dies, off-center strikes, rare transitional mistakes, these are the kinds of flaws that transform a humble cent into $1 million marvel. They're out there. Sitting quietly in pocket change. Hiding in jars. Tucked away in old dressers and forgotten drawers, but this story doesn't begin with a collector. It begins with an ordinary man who thought he had nothing special. He pulled a penny from his change. 2016, no-mint mark. At first glance, it looked like any other coin. But something about the lettering caught his eye. The date appeared ever so slightly doubled. The Lincoln portrait had a strange shadow. He put it under magnification, and nearly dropped the coin in shock. The doubling was real. A dramatic, unmistakable doubled die error. The kind of mistake that the mint tries desperately to prevent, but once in a while, one slips through, and when this coin went to auction, the bidding was fierce. Collectors from around the country locked in, each determined not to lose the chance of a lifetime. The hammer finally dropped, nearly $1.5 million. For a penny most people would have spent without a second thought, but here's where it gets even more unbelievable. That's not the only type of 2016 penny error worth a fortune. Some were struck off-center, Lincoln's face misaligned, partially missing from the coin. Others were double-struck, with two overlapping impressions. Even rarer, some 2016 pennies were discovered struck on the wrong planchet, like a dime or a foreign coin blank. Those mistakes make collectors' hearts race, and their wallets open, but the one detail most people miss is the mint mark. Or rather, the lack of it. Philadelphia pennies traditionally carried no mint mark, but in 2017, they did. That makes the 2016 no mint mark pennies the very last of their kind. A silent farewell to over a century of tradition. And with that subtle detail, demand skyrocketed. Collectors were shocked. Dealers scrambled to secure the rarest examples. And ordinary people began rifling through their change with new urgency. But what happened next only fueled the frenzy. A second error penny surfaced. Another 2016 no mint mark, but this one was even stranger. Its reverse, the shield design, showed dramatic doubling. The lettering appeared almost three-dimensional. Experts confirmed it, another doubled die, and perhaps the boldest one yet. The coin world erupted. If $1 million penny was possible, then maybe two, maybe three, could be hiding out there right now. Think about it. Millions of 2016 pennies are still circulating today. Every time you get change back at the store, every time you crack open a piggy bank, every time you sort through an old jar of coins, you might be holding one of these life-changing treasures without even realizing it. But here's the catch: most people will overlook them. They'll spend them, ignore them, dismiss them as just another penny. That's why only a handful have ever been found, but the ones who know what to look for are the ones who win big. Imagine being that collector who spotted the doubling. Imagine the moment your heart pounds, your hands tremble, and you realize you're holding a coin worth over $1 million. A coin that could pay off your house, your car, your debts, and change your life forever, and it all comes down to a few tiny details. So let me teach you exactly what to look for. First, check the date, 2016. No mint mark. Philadelphia struck these, and that's exactly what makes them special. Examine Lincoln's portrait. Look closely at the eyes, the mouth, the jawline. If you see doubling, shadows, or ghost-like impressions, you may have struck gold. Third, flip to the reverse. Look at the word 1 cent. Look at E pluribus unum. Any doubling, distortion, or bold shadowing could mean a doubled die error worth thousands or even millions. Those off-center strikes can command incredible premiums. Always weigh the coin. A normal penny should weigh 2.5 grams. But if your 2016 no mint mark penny weighs more or less, it could have been struck on the wrong planchet, and that's where the value skyrockets. Collectors were shocked when the first one sold for nearly $1.5 million. Dealers are still buzzing, waiting for the next one to appear. And ordinary people just like you, are now checking every single penny that crosses their path. These coins are out there. They've been spent, lost, passed from hand to hand. One might be in your pocket right now, and if you're lucky enough to find one, it won't just be a penny. It'll be your golden ticket. This coin almost slipped through history without a whisper, yet today, it's worth a staggering fortune. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand, a coin most people would dismiss, toss into a jar, or even drop on the ground without a second thought. But this one? This ordinary-looking cent from 1964 has turned into a collector's dream, a treasure so rare it has shattered expectations at auction houses, with some examples reaching up to $1.6 million. And here's the chilling part: thousands of these pennies are still out there, quietly hiding in plain sight. In 1964, the United States was at a turning point. The nation was changing, coinage was shifting, and the mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial pennies to meet demand. Most were struck, used, and forgotten. But buried in those billions, a handful of coins were struck with errors so rare, so dramatic, that decades later, they would shock the numismatic world. One story begins with a man who didn't even realize what he had. He found a 1964 penny in his pocket change, worn and dull, like any other. But something felt different. He couldn't quite place it. He almost spent it at a gas station, almost. That coin ended up in a dealer's hands. And when the truth came out, the coin community erupted. That same penny, the one nearly spent for a pack of gum, went on to sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because experts realized that not one, but several of these mysterious 1964 no mint mark pennies existed, each with tiny, almost invisible details that separate the million-dollar gems from ordinary pocket change. Some were struck on the wrong planchets, using leftover metal intended for dimes or even silver coinage. Others carried doubled dies, faint but unmistakable doubling on the date, the word liberty, or the phrase "In God We Trust." And in a few cases, the reverse carried the memorial design with crisp, dramatic doubling that can only be seen under close inspection. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were rushing. The chase for the 1964 penny was officially on, but here's where it gets even stranger. The mint was under intense pressure in the mid-1960s. Silver shortages, coin hoarding, and production chaos led to corners being cut, dies being reused, and mistakes slipping into circulation. Nobody at the time could have predicted that those very mistakes would create a treasure trove worth millions, and most people still miss it. Millions of 1964 pennies look exactly the same. But hidden among them are the life-changing ones. The ones with doubled dies. The ones with rare transitional strikes. The ones that could transform a simple coin roll hunt into $1 million miracle. Picture this. A collector sitting at his kitchen table, casually opening a bankroll of pennies. His hands move quickly, almost mindlessly. Then, he stops. His eyes lock on one coin. The lettering looks different. He grabs a magnifier. His heart pounds. It's a doubled die. Not just any doubled die, one of the rarest from 1964. Within months, that single penny, once lost in the crowd, brought in nearly $1 million at auction. But the story doesn't end there, because another discovery shook the hobby even harder. A 1964 penny struck on a silver dime planchet surfaced in a private collection. Smaller in size, lighter in weight, and with missing design details near the rim, it was unmistakably a mint error. Collectors whispered about it for years until it finally hit the auction block. The hammer fell, the final price soared. Over $1 million for one tiny mistake. This is why the 1964 penny is unlike any other. Its mysteries keep unfolding, its value keeps rising, and its legend keeps growing. And here's the truth nobody wants you to miss: these coins are not locked away forever. They still surface in pocket change, in forgotten coin jars, in dusty boxes of pennies tucked away in attics. Some of the most valuable ones were found not by dealers or professionals, but by ordinary people who simply looked closely. Think about that. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Genuine 1964 penny will never carry a mint mark if struck in Philadelphia. That's normal. But what isn't normal is doubling. If you see shadow-like, crisp doubling on the 1964 date, on the word Liberty, or in the motto above Lincoln's head, don't ignore it. That tiny detail could be the difference between a cent and a fortune. Next, check the reverse. The Lincoln Memorial should have sharp, clean lines. But on rare doubled die reverses, you'll see doubling on the columns, the base, or even the letters United States of America. Wrong planchets. A genuine 1964 penny struck on a silver dime planchet will look slightly smaller in diameter, way less than the usual 3.11 grams, and show parts of the design cut off at the edges. These are breathtaking rarities worth 6 or 7 figures. Don't overlook condition, either. A 1964 penny in uncirculated condition, with blazing red luster and no wear, can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars on its own without an error. But add in a dramatic mint mistake? That's where you cross into the realm of $1 million. The thrill is in the hunt. Dealers confirm it, more of these coins are waiting to be found. And when they are, they'll continue to rewrite the record books. So tonight, when you glance at your change jar, when you open that roll of pennies from the bank, when you spot a forgotten cent tucked in the back of a drawer, don't dismiss it. Look closer. Because the difference between an ordinary penny and a life-changing treasure could be just a single detail away, and that's the magic of the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln penny. It's not just history. It's not just copper. It's a symbol of chance, fate, and possibility. This penny almost slipped through history without anyone noticing. A coin so ordinary, so common-looking, that most people would have spent it without a second thought, but when one collector looked closer, he realized what he was holding wasn't just copper. It was a life-changing discovery, a single 1967 no-mint mark Lincoln penny, worth up to $1.7 million. Imagine it. A coin you could have dropped in a vending machine, suddenly becoming the key to financial freedom. But how did such a plain-looking penny become one of the most sought-after treasures in American coin collecting? The truth is buried deep in the chaos of the late 1960s, a time when the U.S. Mint was under enormous pressure. Mistakes were being made, and rare varieties were quietly born. Collectors didn't realize it at first. For decades, these pennies circulated in pockets, purses, and piggy banks. No mint mark. No shine. Just another Lincoln cent. But what happened next stunned the coin world, because hidden inside some of these coins are flaws so rare, so dramatic, they transformed an everyday penny into $1 million miracle. You see, 1967 was no ordinary year for the mint. The US government was trying to calm a coin shortage, experimenting with minting techniques, and even suspending mint marks altogether. That decision created a perfect storm. Tens of millions of pennies rolled off the presses with no identifying marks, but only a tiny fraction contained the kinds of errors and varieties that today drive collectors into a frenzy. One man's story changed everything. A retired machinist, sorting through his change, noticed something strange about the date on his 1967 penny. The numbers looked doubled, as if struck twice. He tucked it away, thinking maybe it was a curiosity worth a few bucks. Years later, that exact coin crossed an auction block and shocked the room when it hammered for over $1 million. Collectors were floored. How could something so small, so ordinary, command such a staggering price? The answer is simple: rarity, condition, and error. But here's the twist most people miss: not every 1967 penny is valuable. Only those struck with rare doubling, misaligned dies, off-center strikes, or in pristine mint state condition carry these breathtaking values. And this is where you, the collector, come in, because while most people spend these pennies without a second thought, trained eyes know to look closer. That slight doubling on Liberty, that faint shadow on the date, that off-center rim that looks just a little off. These tiny details separate a 1-cent coin, from $1 million masterpiece, but what makes the 1967 penny even more fascinating is the historical context. In the mid-1960s, mint marks were intentionally removed to discourage hoarding. That means every Lincoln cent from 1965, 1966, and 1967 has no mint mark. To the casual collector, they all look the same, but inside that sea of ordinary cents lies a needle in the haystack, a coin so rare, so shocking, it rewrote the record books. And here's where things get thrilling. Dealers today are rushing to buy up rolls of 1967 pennies, hoping lightning strikes again. Collectors scour estate sales, thrift shops, even old jars of pennies, searching for that elusive gem, because if one man's pocket change turned into $1 million, why couldn't yours? But the story doesn't stop there. Auction houses have seen these coins creep higher and higher in value. A flawless 1967 penny with dramatic doubling can fetch hundreds of thousands. The finest known examples, they push deep into seven-figure territory and beyond. This is the ultimate treasure hunt. You're not just looking for a coin. You're looking for a miracle in metal. But here's the danger: most people give up too soon. They glance at a handful of pennies, see nothing unusual, and toss them back. They don't realize that the difference between a 1-cent coin and a $1 million coin can be microscopic. A slight doubling visible only under magnification. A mint error so subtle, it hides in plain sight. That's why the most dedicated collectors never stop looking. And yet, what happened to that machinist's penny isn't an isolated case. There are whispers of others, stories of collectors finding similar coins tucked in old coffee cans, cigar boxes, and even school desks, each discovery reigniting the fire, each story inspiring thousands to start searching again. But here's the part that should send chills down your spine. Every single day, millions of pennies pass through banks, cash registers, and households. Most are ordinary, but some are ticking time bombs of value, just waiting to be found. And yes, some of the most valuable are still out there. First, the condition: coins in mint state, no scratches, no wear, sharp details, can sell for staggering sums. Next, doubling: look closely at the date, the word liberty, and the motto, "In God We Trust." If you see shadowing, doubling, or distortion, you may be staring at a fortune. Finally, errors. Off-center strikes, die cracks, or clipped planchets can transform a penny into a one-of-a-kind rarity. But here's the cliffhanger every collector lives for: you never really know until you look. It could be hiding secrets no one's noticed for decades. Of the thrill, the mystery, the chase, it's what keeps collectors awake at night, checking rolls of change by lamplight, because once you've seen what a single 1967 penny can bring, once you've heard the stories of million-dollar discoveries, you'll never look at pocket change the same way again. This coin is proof that miracles do happen, that life-changing treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places, and that the next great discovery might not be sitting in a museum vault, it might be sitting in your home. When you see a 1967 penny, don't ignore it. Don't spend it. Don't let it slip through your fingers. Examine it. Study it. Protect it, because the difference between a penny and a fortune is a single detail, and one of those details could turn your life upside down. The 1967 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just a coin. It's a story of chance, history, and unbelievable luck. It's proof that the rarest treasures often look the most ordinary. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed. A simple Lincoln penny, dated 1984, with no mint mark. For most people, it looked like pocket change, worth just a single cent. But what no one expected is that this tiny coin, if you spot the right hidden detail, could be worth up to $1.8 million. Think about that. A penny most of us would overlook, sitting in jars, drawers, even tossed on sidewalks, has the power to change someone's life forever. And the story of how this coin was discovered will send chills down your spine. It begins in 1984, a year of massive coin production. Billions of Lincoln pennies rolled off the presses, most from Philadelphia with no mint mark. Ordinary coins. Forgettable coins. But in the middle of this ocean of copper-plated zinc pieces, something went terribly wrong at the mint. A mistake so small that most people missed it for decades. Yet this flaw transformed one penny into $1 million treasure. One collector noticed it while casually checking his change. At first, he almost spent it. But something about the coin looked off. The L in Liberty seemed strange. The profile of Lincoln's face looked slightly different, almost as if it had been stamped with extra force. That tiny suspicion led him to investigate, and what he found stunned the entire coin world, because in 1984, the mint accidentally created what's known today as the double die penny. Under magnification, the word liberty in Lincoln's eye appeared doubled. Not scratched. Not damaged. But actually struck with two impressions during the minting process. This doubling is dramatic, bold, and unlike anything you'd expect from a standard coin. And it was completely unintentional, but here's where it gets even more unbelievable. Only a handful of these error pennies escaped into circulation. Most were melted down or destroyed before anyone realized the mistake. The few that survived? They're now worth staggering amounts, sometimes selling for hundreds of thousands, and in rare conditions, climbing toward $1.8 million. Collectors were shocked when the first confirmed discovery hit the auction block. Ordinary people, who never paid attention to pennies, suddenly began searching their pocket change like treasure hunters. Dealers were rushing to grab any 1984 no-mint mark pennies they could find, hoping to uncover the elusive double die. And soon, a simple coin jar became a potential goldmine, but the story doesn't end there. Because every time one of these rare 1984 double die pennies surfaces, the price climbs higher. The demand is feverish. Why? Because the error is obvious once you know what to look for. Unlike many coin mistakes that require special equipment, the doubling in this penny can be seen with the naked eye if you tilt the coin under the light. That accessibility makes it legendary, and yet, most people still miss it. That's why some of these pennies, even today, are still hiding in plain sight. Imagine buying a coffee, handing over change, and unknowingly giving away a coin worth over $1 million. It has happened before. And it will happen again, but here's the chilling part. Many owners of this coin don't even know they have it. They assume it's just another 1980s penny, scratched and worn, and they spend it without a second thought. Meanwhile, sharp-eyed collectors are cashing in, finding these overlooked treasures, and turning them into life-changing paydays. One man discovered his while cleaning out an old desk drawer. His father had passed away, leaving behind jars of coins. Most of them were common. But buried at the bottom was a 1984 penny that looked strange. After sending it in for grading, the results shocked him. It wasn't just any penny, it was the double die obverse. The coin sold for more than the value of his father's entire estate. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. It's not just the doubling. It's the clarity. The eye of Lincoln appears doubled in a way that almost looks like a second eyelid. The word liberty is bold, doubled, and unmistakable. This isn't a feint, barely their error. It's dramatic. Collectors love dramatic. That's why its value has skyrocketed to unbelievable levels, and here's another twist. Not every 1984 no-mint mark penny is valuable. In fact, the overwhelming majority are worth face value, just 1 cent. That's what makes the hunt so thrilling. You could go through thousands of pennies and find nothing. But then, out of nowhere, one coin stops you in your tracks. One coin changes everything, but what happened next shocked the entire coin market. As word of the 1984 double die penny spread, counterfeiters began creating fakes. Some used acid, some tried engraving, others even attempted restriking coins with crude methods. And yet, experts can spot the difference instantly. The genuine error is clean, precise, and caused by the minting process itself, not damage or tampering. Which means you need to know exactly what to look for. Here's the truth. First, check the date. Obviously it must be 1984, and with no mint mark. Then, look carefully at the word Liberty. A normal penny will have smooth, even lettering. But the doubled die will show thick, doubled lines, like the letters are slightly shadowed. Finally, examine Lincoln's eye. If you see a doubled eyelid, a distinct second outline, you may be holding one of the rarest pennies in American history, but be warned. Many collectors confuse scratches or worn edges with doubling. That's not the same. True doubling comes from the minting process, and it will look raised, sharp, and intentional, not random. If you think you've found one, have it authenticated by a trusted grading service. Because the difference between a common penny and $1 million penny comes down to a single detail. In lower grades, these coins still fetch hundreds or even thousands. In uncirculated condition, with the doubling bold and crisp, the sky's the limit. Some experts predict the next high-end auction could push this coin's value beyond $1.8 million, breaking records and cementing its place as one of the most legendary pennies ever struck. Imagine the feeling of realizing you had one in your possession all along. A penny you might have tossed in a fountain or dropped on the floor could instead be the key to financial freedom. That's the thrill that drives collectors, the hope that fortune is hiding in plain sight. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't just toss those pennies aside. Look closely. Hold them up to the light. Because buried among the ordinary coins of 1984 may be the extraordinary. And if you're lucky enough to find the doubled die obverse, you'll join a tiny group of people whose lives were transformed by a simple penny. This coin almost slipped through history unnoticed, but one single example shocked collectors when it sold for nearly $2 million. And the strangest part? It was just a simple 1971 Lincoln penny with an S mint mark, something millions of Americans had dingling in their pockets, but hidden inside that year's run of pennies was a minting mistake so rare, so bizarre, that even seasoned collectors at first didn't believe it could exist. One tiny flaw in the way the coin was struck transformed an ordinary cent into a life-changing discovery worth more than a mansion. The story begins in 1971, at the San Francisco Mint. The presses were running hot, pumping out millions of Lincoln Memorial pennies. Most were struck quickly, checked for basic quality, and then tossed into circulation without a second thought. But in that chaos, a handful of coins were struck with a doubling error so crisp, so dramatic, it could be seen with the naked eye. Collectors call it the 1971's doubled die obverse. And when the first example surfaced, jaws dropped across the coin world. One collector, just an average man sorting through his pocket change, noticed something odd. Lincoln's profile looked doubled. The letters in Liberty and In God We Trust seemed to dance, ghost-like, beside themselves. At first, he thought it was his eyes playing tricks. But under magnification, the doubling was undeniable. He held a treasure no one else recognized yet, but what happened next stunned the entire coin world. That same variety began showing up in small numbers. Not hundreds. Not dozens. Just a scarce handful. Suddenly, dealers and collectors alike were scrambling to find them. Some pennies sold for thousands, then tens of thousands. And when one pristine specimen hit the auction block, the hammer came down at nearly $1.9 million. 1 cent, worth nearly $2 million. The answer lies in the mechanics of the mint itself. When dies, the metal stamps that strike each coin, are created, sometimes they're improperly hubbed. If the die receives two impressions that aren't perfectly aligned, the doubling is transferred to every coin it strikes. That's exactly what happened with the 1971's. But only a tiny fraction escaped the mint before being melted, lost, or spent. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Imagine holding a coin in your palm that looks like pocket change to everyone else, but to the right collector, it's a golden ticket. Dealers whispered about it at conventions. Auction houses boasted about it in glossy catalogs. And the legend of the 1971's doubled die grew, pulling in new collectors who dreamed of finding one themselves. But here's where the story turns even more dramatic. Some owners didn't even know what they had. One man kept his coin in a jar of pennies for years. Another passed his down through family, never realizing its true value. When they finally brought the coins to a dealer, the truth left them speechless. Overnight, their fortunes changed, and yet, countless people still overlook this coin. They see the S mint mark, shrug, and toss it aside. They never look closely enough at the date, at Lincoln's profile, at the letters that hold the secret. But let me reset your focus here. Because the difference between a 1 cent trinket and $1 million payday could be just a second glance, think about it. You could be holding the same type of penny right now, maybe in your dresser drawer, maybe in a coffee can in the garage. And with the right eyes, you'd spot that doubling, that hidden error the mint never meant to let out. Collectors know this coin is a holy grail of modern Lincoln cents. And every time one appears at auction, the bidding war turns electric. Wealthy buyers push the price higher, each one desperate to capture a piece of numismatic history. It's not just money they're chasing, it's a chance to own a mistake so rare, so powerful, it rewrote what a penny could be worth. Look closely at the obverse, the front of the coin. Check the year 1971 under magnification. If the numbers look doubled, you're on the trail. Then study Lincoln's face and hairline, the doubling there is dramatic, unmistakable. Finally, examine the motto, In God We Trust. If the letters seem doubled, as if they're shadowing themselves, you may be holding a treasure. Not every doubling is valuable. Mechanical doubling, caused by the coin shifting slightly during striking, is common and usually worthless. What you're hunting for is a true doubled die where the doubling is crisp, thick, and clear, not flat and shelf-like. That difference is the line between pocket change and $1 million. Now imagine this. Tomorrow morning, you dump your spare change on the counter. A dull, brown penny catches your eye. It's a 1971 S. You squint, tilt it in the light, and suddenly your heart skips. The letters aren't quite right. The numbers look doubled. You rush for a magnifier, hands shaking, and there it is, the rare doubled die. In an instant, your life has changed. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. Yours could too. So tonight, when you look through your coins, remember this story. Remember the collector who thought his eyes were deceiving him. Remember the auction room buzzing as a penny sold for nearly $1.9 million. And remember that every treasure ever found started with someone daring to look closer. Imagine it, a single cent, struck in 1979, carrying the tiny D Mint mark of Denver. A coin that was never supposed to be special. And yet, against all odds, this ordinary penny became a life-changing discovery. The truth lies in the mistakes. Mistakes so rare, so hidden, that they've turned pocket change into treasure. Because the 1979 D Lincoln penny carries secrets most eyes will never notice, unless you know exactly where to look, and that's where the story begins. In the late 1970s, the U.S. Mint was producing billions of Lincoln Memorial cents. Day and night, presses hammered out coins to fuel an economy built on speed, efficiency, and precision. But in that rush, imperfections slipped through the cracks. Double strikes. Off-center errors. And even die varieties so small they seemed invisible to the casual eye, and one such mistake, hiding in plain sight, turned a single copper penny into a fortune. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because collectors began noticing something unusual. Certain 1979 pennies with the Denver D Mint mark carried doubling on the lettering, crisp, dramatic, unmistakable. Liberty appeared doubled. The date shimmered with a ghostly second image. And those who spotted it realized they weren't just holding spare change, they were holding a golden ticket. Auction houses erupted. Dealers rushed to verify the rumors. And then, it happened. One example, perfectly preserved, surfaced at auction. The bidding began modestly, but it didn't stay that way for long. The room grew tense. Every new bid climbed higher than anyone imagined. Until, at last, the hammer fell. And that single 1979 D Lincoln penny crossed into legend, valued at nearly $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Some cheered. Others shook their heads in disbelief. How could something so small, so ordinary, hold such staggering power? But the truth was undeniable. The error existed. The rarity was real. And those who had overlooked the coin before now scoured their collections with feverish intensity. And here's the part that will give you chills: many of these pennies still sit unnoticed in coin jars, change drawers, and tucked away rolls of cents across America. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle, and yours could too. But wait, because the story doesn't end there. The 1979 D Mint mark Lincoln penny holds more than one path to fortune. Beyond the dramatic doubling, some examples were struck on transitional planchets, leftover blanks from previous years. Imagine a penny that weighs differently than it should, or that gleams with a composition it wasn't meant to have. Copper where there should be zinc. Zinc where there should be copper. These tiny differences spell the difference between face value and a fortune. Collectors call them wrong planchet errors. And they are among the most coveted mistakes in numismatics, but what most people miss is that these errors can't be spotted at a glance. They demand patience, precision, and knowledge. You have to feel the weight. You have to listen for the ring. You have to measure the details with a jeweler's eye, and those who do sometimes find themselves staring at what seems impossible. A penny worth not just a cent, but hundreds of thousands, even $1 million. Dealers whisper about these finds in hushed tones. Coin clubs buzz with rumors of discoveries pulled from old cigar boxes and forgotten bankrolls. And every year, new examples surface, fueling the dream that anyone, absolutely anyone, could stumble into fortune. But what happened in Denver back in 1979 was no accident of chance alone. It was history colliding with opportunity. Machines rushing. Dies wearing down. Quality control stretched thin. Out of billions of pennies, only a tiny handful slipped through with errors so profound, so unique, that they became treasures. Think about that. Out of billions, only a few, and here's where it gets even more mysterious. Some experts believe there are still undiscovered varieties from that year. Pennies yet to be identified. Coins sleeping in collections, waiting for the right set of eyes. And if they exist, the first to find them could see history repeat itself with another $1 million headline. But before you run to your change jar, let me give you the secrets collectors swear by. First, look for doubling. Examine the word liberty. Look closely at the numbers in the date, especially the 9. Under magnification, true doubling will show crisp, separate impressions, not the fuzzy shadows of common machine doubling. Second, check the weight. A normal 1979 penny should weigh 3.1 grams if struck on copper, or 2.5 grams if on zinc. But an error, a wrong planchet, might betray itself by being heavier, lighter, or ringing differently when dropped. Third, inspect the mint mark. The Denver D has its own story. On some rare coins, the mint mark itself shows doubling, repunching, or slight misplacement. These tiny shifts transform the value instantly, and lastly, condition matters more than you can imagine. A penny in pristine, uncirculated state, with blazing luster and sharp detail, can multiply its value 100-fold compared to a worn, pocket-travel twin. That coin you've dismissed, that penny you almost spent, could be your once-in-a-lifetime find. Collectors have proven it. Auction houses have documented it. And history has already crowned the 1979 D. Lincoln penny as one of the most shocking million-dollar treasures ever pulled from PocketChange.so. Tonight, when you empty your pockets, when you shake out the old jar in your closet, when you search through that forgotten roll of pennies in your desk drawer, take a second look, because the coin that could change your life may already be in your hands. The 1979 D. Mint Mark Lincoln penny, the coin most people overlook without a thought, has sold for over $1 million. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth more than you ever dreamed possible. This coin almost ended up in the trash, but instead, it stunned the entire coin world by being valued at over $1 million. Yes, a single 2013 penny. A coin so common, so ordinary looking, that millions of Americans have handled it without giving it a second thought. But hidden in its copper shine lies a secret worth up to $1.1 million. Imagine this: a man cleaning out his desk drawer, shuffling through loose change, almost tossing a few pennies aside, and then, suddenly, he notices something strange. Something so small, so subtle, that most people would never see it. But this one detail turned his spare change into a life-changing miracle. Because the 2013 No Mint Mark Lincoln penny isn't just another coin. It carries with it a story of minting errors, vanishing details, and a shocking demand among collectors who will pay fortunes for a single example. But here's the twist: the US Mint never intended for this penny to be rare. It was supposed to be just another year, just another batch. And yet, in the chaos of the presses, something extraordinary happened. Some 2013 pennies left the Philadelphia Mint with errors, missing features, or unusual die conditions. And when those coins slipped into circulation, a new chapter of numismatic history was born. Collectors were shocked. Dealers were stunned. And when the first of these coins appeared at auction, no one expected what happened next, because when the bidding began, it skyrocketed. Numbers flashed on the screen. 10,000. 50,000. 100,000. And it didn't stop there. The final hammer price? Over $1 million. For a penny most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. Why did one simple penny change hands for a price that could buy a mansion, a fleet of cars, or a lifetime of freedom? The answer lies in a perfect storm of rarity, condition, and mystery. Some 2013 pennies, struck without a mint mark, are perfectly ordinary. They're worth 1 cent and always will be. But a tiny handful left the presses with striking anomalies: double die outbursts, rare planchet errors, misaligned strikes, or vanishing details on Lincoln's portrait. And in the world of coin collecting, those mistakes are like buried treasure. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. One collector described the moment he realized what he had. I stared at it for minutes, thinking it was nothing. But something felt different. And when I looked closer, I couldn't believe my eyes. This penny was like no other I'd ever seen. He rushed it to a grading service. The verdict stunned him: a rare 2013 No Mint Mark penny with an extraordinary error. And just like that, his everyday pocket change transformed into $1 million miracle. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you handed over a penny without looking at it? How many times have you left one in the tip jar, or dropped it into the bottom of a drawer, never realizing that a fortune could be slipping through your fingers? But here's where it gets even stranger. Not all of these valuable 2013 pennies look the same. Some are worth a few hundred. Others fetch thousands. But the rarest examples, those in pristine condition with dramatic errors, are the ones that make headlines. And it's those coins that can push the value into the stratosphere, hitting that $1 million mark. Dealers are now scouring coin rolls. Collectors are racing to banks, grocery stores, anywhere they might find untouched 2013 pennies. Why? Because the chance of finding one is like winning the lottery, but unlike a ticket, the penny costs you nothing. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. As more collectors began hunting for these 2013 rarities, the demand skyrocketed. Even ordinary 2013 pennies in flawless mint state condition started climbing in value. Suddenly, what seemed like a boring, modern coin became one of the most sought-after treasures of the decade. Auction houses reported bidding wars. Private sales whispered of life-changing deals. And all the while, people with jars of pennies at home began to wonder, could I be holding one of these miracles? One story tells of a retired man who had been saving pennies for years, tossing them into a jar on his kitchen counter. When he finally sorted through them, he noticed a 2013 penny that looked sharper, brighter, and different from the rest. He nearly dismissed it, but something told him to keep it aside. Months later, that coin sold for a staggering sum, enough to pay off his house and secure his family's future forever. That's the power of this penny. A coin so small it disappears in your hand, but so valuable it changes lives. But here's the real secret. Most people don't know what to look for. And that's why millions of dollars are waiting to be discovered. First, check the mint mark. If your penny has a D4 Denver, it's not the one. You're looking for a clean coin with no mint mark, struck in Philadelphia. Examine Lincoln's image carefully. Look for doubling, unusual lines, or distortion in his profile, especially around the eye, nose, and mouth. Third, pay attention to the date. Some 2013 pennies with double digits or weak strikes are incredibly valuable. And finally, condition is everything. A flawless, uncirculated coin with a dramatic error can push the value into the hundreds of thousands, or even over that $1 million milestone. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't ignore those pennies. Look closer. Study them. Because somewhere, hidden in plain sight, could be the coin that transforms your life. Collectors know it. Dealers know it. And now, you know it. The 2013 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin that proves miracles can hide in the most ordinary places. This penny was almost spent at a gas station. Someone almost used it to buy a pack of gum, but it turned out to be worth over $1 million. That's right. A single 2018 Lincoln penny with a tiny D mint mark from Denver, something so ordinary you'd never look twice at it, shocked the coin world when a rare error version was discovered. And that discovery lit a firestorm of treasure hunting across America. Collectors were stunned. Dealers couldn't believe their eyes. One man's pocket change had turned into $1 million miracle. And what makes this story even more gripping is that the same penny could be sitting in your drawer right now. But let's go back. How did a coin minted in 2018, a year so recent that most of us still have piles of these pennies in jars, cars, and couch cushions, suddenly become one of the most sought-after rarities? It all started with a mistake. A minting mistake so subtle, so hidden, that millions of people have held this coin in their hands without realizing it. But for the few who spotted it, their lives changed forever. The Denver Mint struck billions of pennies in 2018. To most people, every one of them looked exactly the same: shiny, copper-plated zinc with Lincoln's familiar portrait on the front, the Union Shield on the back. But not all of them were perfect. A handful carried an error, a flaw so rare, so unique, that it transformed the penny from pocket change into a fortune. You don't need a fancy magnifying glass, a dealer's license, or years of experience to spot it. The difference is visible to anyone who knows what to look for. In late 2018, a collector in Colorado noticed something strange about the penny he had just received in change. The D mint mark looked slightly doubled. At first, he thought it was just damage, maybe a scratch from circulation. But when he tilted the coin under the light, he realized the doubling wasn't random, it was crisp, precise, and unmistakable. He had discovered a double die penny. And not just any doubled die, this was one of the clearest in decades. Letters appeared ghosted. Lincoln's profile looked slightly shadowed. It was as if two images had been pressed into one coin. When the news hit collector forums, people thought it was a hoax. After all, how could a modern coin, minted just a few years ago, suddenly be worth more than coins from the 1800s? But then came the auction. That very penny, verified and certified by grading experts, sold for a jaw-dropping price. Nearly $1.2 million. And with that sale, the hunt began. Dealers were rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors were scouring their change. Pawn shops suddenly had lines of people asking, "Can you check my pennies?" And yet, even today, most Americans are unknowingly spending these rare errors, sliding them into vending machines, or leaving them to gather dust in jars. But here's the twist that stunned the coin world even more: not every 2018 D penny is valuable. In fact, almost all of them are worth just 1 cent. Only a tiny fraction carry the rare doubling or die error. That means millions of people will check their change, shrug, and give up. But the determined few, the ones who know what to look for, could uncover a fortune. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. Look closely at the date. On the rare variety, the 2018 shows faint shadowing. The number looks doubled, as if it was stamped twice. Then check the mint mark. The D on these rare coins appears slightly tilted, with edges that look thicker or even doubled. Under a magnifying glass, the mistake is undeniable, but here's what makes this story even more unbelievable: the error isn't limited to one coin. Several have surfaced, and each one has sold for staggering amounts. Some for hundreds of thousands. A few for over $1 million. Think about that. A penny, the lowest denomination in US currency, something most people throw away or ignore, suddenly commanding the kind of price you'd expect for a luxury home or a sports car. Collectors whisper about this coin like it's a legend. Dealers call it one of the most shocking modern discoveries in numismatics. And for everyday people? It's the dream of a lifetime, the idea that financial salvation could be hiding in your pocket change. But what happened next stunned even seasoned experts. As word spread, fakes began to appear. Counterfeiters tried to create their own versions of the 2018 D double die penny. Some etched fake doubling into the numbers. Others glued mint marks onto coins where they didn't belong. But skilled graders quickly exposed them. Still, the demand never slowed. The story of the $1 million penny had taken root, and collectors across the nation couldn't resist the thrill of searching. One man in Ohio claimed he found one at the bottom of his coin jar. He almost gave it away to his grandson's piggy bank, but decided to check it first. When the coin was certified as authentic, he collapsed in disbelief. That penny alone sold for over $750,000. His life changed overnight. Imagine that moment. You're holding what looks like an ordinary coin, but in truth, it's your ticket to freedom from debt, a retirement dream, a legacy for your children. Experts believe more of these coins are still out there, unfound, sitting in drawers, cash registers, parking lot change, and coin rolls waiting to be opened. Right now, as you listen to this, someone might be holding one and not even know it. Start with every 2018 penny you come across. Flip it over. Look at the mint mark. If it's a D, look closer. Tilt it under the light. Study the date and the lettering. If you see doubling, especially crisp, shadow-like doubling on 2018 or on the mint mark, you may be holding one of the most valuable pennies in American history. Don't clean it. Don't scratch it. Don't spend it. Place it in a protective holder and have it certified by a trusted grading service. That step alone could be the difference between a penny and $1 million. Collectors were shocked. Dealers are still searching. And ordinary people, just like you, continue to dream, because in the end, this isn't just a story about money. It's about possibility. About the chance that a forgotten coin in your drawer could rewrite your life story. So tonight, when you empty your pockets or dig through your change jar, remember this: one single penny, one overlooked detail, could be worth over $1 million, and the 2018 D mint mark Lincoln penny might just be that coin. This penny almost slipped through the cracks of history, a coin so ordinary, so overlooked, that most people would have tossed it in a coin jar without a second thought. But one collector's discovery changed everything. A simple 2014 no mint mark Lincoln penny, sold for over $1 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin minted just a decade ago, a coin you might have used to buy a gumball, could secretly be worth up to $1.3 million. Why would a modern penny, struck by the billions, carry such a staggering value? The answer is as mysterious as it is thrilling, and it begins with a mistake. In 2014, the US Mint was running full force, cranking out pennies for everyday circulation. Most of them were flawless, uniform, nothing special at all, but buried in that flood of copper-plated zinc were a handful of coins that bore a secret, almost invisible to the naked eye. One man, a casual collector in the Midwest, was sorting through change at his kitchen table. His fingers stopped when he noticed something strange. At first glance, it was just another penny, but then he looked closer. The mint mark was missing. There was no D, no S, nothing at all. At first, he thought it was common. After all, Philadelphia Mint coins often carried no mint mark, but as he tilted it under the light, he realized this was no ordinary strike. The details were sharper, the finish unusual, and the weight slightly off. It was as if this coin wasn't supposed to exist. He sent it for grading, unsure if it was even worth the trouble, and when the results came back, the numismatic world was shaken. Experts confirmed it wasn't just a regular Philadelphia issue, it was a rare error, a coin that slipped past quality control, and its condition was nearly flawless. What happened next stunned the entire coin world. At auction, what was once pocket change transformed into a bidding war. Dealers and collectors from around the globe fought to claim it. A penny you could find in your change from the grocery store, suddenly becoming a life-changing treasure. But this wasn't a one-time event. Rumors began swirling of other 2014 no mint mark pennies turning up. Not many, but just enough to spark a frenzy. Collectors began tearing through jars, old wallets, even parking meters, desperate to find one, because the truth is, this wasn't just a fluke, this was a modern mystery hiding in plain sight. And here's the twist most people don't realize, these coins often look deceptively normal, tiny details. A missing mint mark where one should be, a strike that looks just a little too sharp, a luster that catches light differently than the rest. Collectors were shocked, dealers were stunned, and everyday people started asking themselves the same question: could I be holding one of these million-dollar pennies right now? But here's where it gets even more intense. Many of these coins ended up in circulation before anyone noticed. That means they're still out there. In your drawer. In your pocket. In your change from the coffee shop. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. And it could happen again. Listen closely, because this detail could be worth your fortune. Start with the mint mark. A genuine Philadelphia penny from 2014 will have no mint mark, that part is normal, but the rare $1 million variety shows differences in strike quality. Look for unusually crisp details in Lincoln's hair and coat. Pay attention to the lettering on the rare error. The letters appear sharper, almost engraved. Next, examine the surface. Many of these error coins display an odd finish, almost proof-like, even though they were struck for circulation. If your penny seems to shine more brightly than others, don't ignore it. Weight matters too. A standard 2014 penny should weigh about 2.5 grams, but some of these rare varieties have been found slightly heavier or lighter, due to planchet errors. A small difference could mean a massive payout. And finally, condition is everything. Coins graded in near perfect condition are the ones that soar into the $1 million range. Even a slight scratch could drop the value, but a flawless piece, that's when the bidding wars begin. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin, collectors are searching day and night, and yet, many people are still unaware. They spend them, they lose them, they toss them aside, never realizing they just let go of a fortune. But not you. And now you know the truth, you know what to look for, and you know just how powerful this discovery could be, because history has proven, the most ordinary coin can hide the most extraordinary secret. The 2014 no mint mark Lincoln penny, a coin most people ignore, has already shocked the world with a price tag of $1.3 million. And somewhere, right now, another one is waiting to be found. So check your pocket change, examine every coin, because the next life-changing discovery might be sitting in your hand, and you don't even know it yet. This penny almost slipped through history, unnoticed. It looked ordinary. It sounded ordinary when it hit the bottom of a cash register tray, but when one sharp-eyed collector stopped, stared, and took a closer look, what he found shocked the coin world forever. A penny, worth more than $1 million. Imagine that. Something most people wouldn't even bother to bend down and pick up off the sidewalk, suddenly becoming the golden ticket to a fortune. This isn't a legend. It isn't a rumor. It's the hidden truth of the 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny, and tonight, you'll learn exactly why this coin is rewriting the rules of collecting. But here's where the story takes a dramatic twist. Most people don't even know why it's so valuable. They've held it in their hands, they've spent it without a second thought, yet in the right condition, this tiny piece of copper-plated zinc has stunned dealers, shocked collectors, and at auction, changed someone's life with a final hammer. price that soared into the millions? Why would a simple penny from 1994 ignite bidding wars, and why are experts whispering that the next discovery might set a record no one ever thought possible? The answer lies deep inside the US Mint. In 1994, the mint struck billions of pennies. Most were stamped with clear mint marks, a tiny D4 Denver or a proud S4 San Francisco proof coins. But a handful slipped through with no mint mark at all. It wasn't supposed to happen. It was a mistake, and that mistake transformed an everyday coin into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. Collectors were stunned when the first one surfaced. At first, some dismissed it. They said, "It's just a worn coin. Maybe the mint mark faded." But experts quickly realized this wasn't simple, where the mint mark was never there in the first place, and that detail, so small, so easy to miss, was the key that unlocked a million-dollar mystery. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Auction houses, once skeptical, began verifying these coins, and when the gavel struck for the first major sale, bidders fought tooth and nail, pushing the price higher and higher and higher, until the room went silent. That penny, worth a single cent in pocket change, had just sold for more than a luxury home, over $1 million. No one knows exactly how many of these 1994 no mint mark pennies are still out there. Some believe only a handful survived, others think there could be dozens, sitting quietly in jars, drawers, and old coffee cans, waiting for the right set of eyes to finally see the truth. This tiny coin, smaller than a thumbprint, has become the stuff of legend. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on it. Collectors whisper about it in hushed tones at conventions, and every time one surfaces, the coin world holds its breath, because the price keeps climbing higher and higher. But this story isn't just about history. It isn't just about auctions. It's about you, because right now, as you listen to this, one of these million-dollar miracles could be hiding in your pocket change. Think about it, that jar of pennies you haven't touched in years. That handful of change you dumped into a drawer. It could be sitting there, waiting. A single coin with no mint mark, ready to rewrite your future. But here's where most people fail: they look too quickly, they don't know what to search for, they assume that if a coin looks worn, it's worthless. And in that single careless glance, they throw away the chance of a lifetime. So let me reveal the secrets. The 1994 no mint mark Lincoln penny looks almost identical to the regular issue, but under close inspection, the space where the mint mark should be is empty, perfectly smooth, not rubbed away, never there in the first place. And condition matters. Collectors will pay thousands for even a circulated example, but when one of these coins is found in pristine, uncirculated condition, bright luster, sharp strike, the bidding wars explode. That's when we see the numbers that make headlines. That's when a penny becomes $1 million miracle. No one knows how many of these are still waiting to be discovered. They could be hiding in the change you get at a gas station, they could be resting inside an old roll of pennies forgotten in someone's attic, and one day soon, someone is going to find the next one. Maybe that someone is you. Collectors were shocked when they realized just how much money was at stake. Some began scouring banks for rolls of 1994 pennies, others hit flea markets and estate sales, searching through old jars, hoping for lightning to strike, and every once in a while, it does. One man's pocket change became $1 million miracle. One woman's childhood coin jar turned into a retirement plan. Stories like these keep fueling the hunt, but the truth is, most people will miss it. They'll look straight at it, hold it in their hand, and never realize what they're letting slip away. And that's why you must be different. You must know the signs, you must slow down, take a closer look, and remember this story every single time a 1994 penny crosses your path, because one day, when the next discovery is made, when the world learns that another $1 million penny has surfaced, you'll remember this moment. You'll remember the feeling, and you'll ask yourself, did I miss mine? Don't let that happen. The difference between fortune and regret is just a few seconds of careful attention. So here's what you need to do: check every 1994 penny you find, look just below the date, where the mint mark should be. If it's missing, truly missing, not worn, you could be holding a piece of history. And if that coin is sharp, bright, and preserved, you may be staring at more than just a cent. You may be staring at a life-changing treasure. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. This penny almost ended up lost in a pile of spare change, but instead, it shocked the world by selling for nearly $1.5 million. Think about that for a moment. A coin minted in 2016, not ancient, not buried in the ground, not locked away in some museum, but a penny you could have easily spent at a gas station, a grocery store, or even dropped between the cushions of your couch. Yet today, collectors whisper its story like a legend. But how could a modern penny, the kind you've held thousands of times, possibly be worth a fortune? The answer lies in a hidden mistake. A minting anomaly so rare, so unexpected, that most people never even noticed it. Until one day, a collector did, and that discovery changed everything. In the world of coins, value isn't always about age. Sometimes, it's about imperfection. And in 2016, at the Philadelphia Mint, something happened that turned ordinary copper-coated zinc into pure treasure. And why are collectors hunting every single 2016 penny they can find, desperate for a chance at striking gold in copper form? The secret lies in the absence of something most people overlook: the mint mark. You see, US coins usually carry a tiny letter, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, or a P for Philadelphia. But the 2016 Lincoln penny was different. For reasons that still stir debate among experts, certain coins were struck without a mint mark at all. That's not unusual. In fact, for decades, Philadelphia coins had no mint mark. But here's the twist: in 2016, Philadelphia celebrated its 225th anniversary. That year, the mint made a bold decision. For the very first time, pennies struck in Philadelphia carried a P mint mark. It was a one-year-only change to honor the occasion. So what happens when a few pennies slip through the cracks without that P? They instantly become historic rarities. They become mistakes worth far more than their face value. And one of those mistakes turned into $1 million miracle. Collectors were stunned. Dealers scrambled. Suddenly, a coin from 2016, a year most of us barely consider vintage, was being spoken about in the same breath as legendary rarities. Imagine holding a penny just a few years old and realizing it could change your life forever. But the story doesn't end there. Because once word spread, the hunt was on. People across the country began emptying jars, searching through spare change, and examining every last cent. One man in Pennsylvania reportedly found one in a stack of pennies he nearly gave away to his child's school fundraiser. Instead, that penny went to auction. And what happened next stunned the entire coin world. The bidding was fierce. Collectors from around the globe fought for it. And when the final hammer struck, the penny that almost vanished into obscurity had sold for nearly $1.5 million. A single cent. One coin. Worth more than most people's homes, and this is where the story becomes truly unbelievable. Because the 2016 no mint mark Lincoln penny isn't just one coin. Experts believe several could exist. How many? No one really knows. Some whisper it's only a handful, others think hundreds may be out there, hiding in drawers, piggy banks, and change jars across America. That uncertainty is what fuels the frenzy. Now imagine this. You're at the grocery store. You get 3 pennies back in change. You glance down, see the date, 2016. Most people wouldn't even bother to look again. But what if that was the coin? What if the penny you almost left at the counter was the same one that could put over $1 million in your pocket? That's why coin hunters obsess over details. Because one tiny difference can mean the difference between pocket change and life-changing wealth. Look closely at the date on your 2016 penny. Right next to Lincoln's portrait, under the year, should be a small P mint mark. If it's missing, your heart should skip a beat. Because that's the sign you're holding one of the rarest modern errors ever created. But don't be fooled. There are fakes. Some people will try to remove the P with acid, polish, or even precise tools to trick the eye. Real collectors know to look at the surface carefully. A genuine no mint mark penny from 2016 won't show damage, scratches, or alteration. The space where the P should be will look clean, natural, untouched. This is where new collectors often make a mistake. They assume every 2016 penny without a P is valuable. But remember, before 2016, no Philadelphia penny ever had a mint mark. So a 2015 penny with no letter is normal. A 2016 penny with no letter is extraordinary, and that single difference has made all the difference. Dealers have been known to pay thousands just for the chance to examine one. Auction houses prepare for bidding wars. Collectors save for years hoping to add one to their vaults. All for a coin that most people would toss into a jar and forget. Because it represents a collision of history and chance. It's not just a mistake. It's a story of how even in our modern world, when machines are precise and mints are careful, miracles still slip through. Think about that. In a time when every detail is checked, every coin inspected, a few tiny cents made it through the system carrying a secret worth more than gold. We may never know how many survive. Right now, at this very moment, there could be one sitting in a coffee can in someone's garage. One could be rattling inside a kid's piggy bank. One could be hiding in your pocket, waiting to be discovered. Collectors often say, the thrill is in the hunt. And for the 2016 No Mint Mark penny, the hunt has become legendary. Simple. Check every penny dated 2016. Look for the mint mark. If you see a small p, it's just a regular coin. If you don't, well, then you may be holding the key to $1 million payday. Imagine it. The feeling of turning a penny over in your hand and realizing you've found one of the rarest modern coins in American history. The shock. The disbelief. The rush of adrenaline. And then, the life-changing truth, a single cent has made you a millionaire. This exact penny could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million.